Now, with Gauteng experiencing this third wave of COVID-19 infections, the Basic Education Department is discussing how to proceed with school sports. 2 Gauteng schools have been closed after pupils tested positive for the virus. This may compel the department to suspend sports activities. To find out what the latest thinking is in the department and if there are any discussions where they are at, I'm joined now by Mr. Mhlanga, speaking on behalf of the Basic Education Department. Tata Mhlanga, good afternoon. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Midday View on eNCA. Where are you at currently with the discussions around sports in particular? I also understand some schools are already suspending or postponing sporting activities that were planned for this weekend after the news broke out by the Premier, David Makhura, of the third wave.
Good afternoon, Brother. That's correct. In fact, it's the right thing to do to suspend those sporting activities. It is not just 2 schools. The report that we are currently reading does indicate that it's probably more than that. It could be more than 10. In fact, I was still reading when I had to come on to your interview.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because there are reports coming from other provinces as well. But of course, Gauteng seems to have a much higher number of schools that are indicating infections resulting from sporting activities.
Okay, can we just confirm that the number 10 is a Gauteng number or is it a national number? It's a Gauteng number you're talking about?
Yes, it's a Gauteng number, that's correct.
So that report that you are still busy with is showing you at this stage about 10 schools in Gauteng have suspended or postponed their sporting activities, and you as a department would support such precautionary measures?
Yeah, it's that number of schools that have reported infections since we gazetted the relaxation of sporting activities, and it seems that even though we said that there should be health and safety protocols in place, that is not working. And when we look at that report, it does indicate that these infections are mainly related to sporting activities. That's correct. The number of schools that have suspended their activities this weekend, we don't know that as yet in terms of the number, but whichever school that would have taken that decision, they are doing the right thing, because we always said from the start that we don't want schools to be contributors in the infection rate in the country. In fact, we believe and we want to continue to make schools the safest places to be. That's why we feel that we need to look into this matter. There will be a meeting early in the week next week to discuss a way forward in this regard.
Yeah, so far, are you sort of certain that the sporting activities, the resumption of contact sporting activities at schools may have contributed to these infections that have been reported to you as a department?
Yeah, it's clear from the reading that all the learners that were tested positive and those that they were associated with had attended sporting activities. So it makes it easy for the department to take the next action in terms of what to do, because you can locate the problem, you know where it is, and therefore discussing solutions around that matter becomes a little bit easier as opposed to when you don't know. So in this case, the majority of the cases, sporting activities are involved. But remember, you know, when the Gazette was published in this regard, there had been calls from schools that are huge in sporting activities to say we want to resume our sporting activities. It is some of those schools that are now listed in the reports that we've received.
I guess the desire to resume was very strong because the numbers were sort of steady, and now, of course, things have changed, but then, of course, there have been infections of children in those schools. The meeting that you referred to that's coming up on Monday, will it be a meeting where you're going to decide what is the way forward?
Well, it's a gathering of the DG and the HODs of provinces, the heads of education departments, and then after that, a day or so later, the minister will meet with MECs. These are special meetings. We do this because we monitor the infections on a day-to-day basis, and we take advice from different forums such as the NCCC and the Ministerial Advisory Committee, and those entities that are looking into all matters involving COVID-19. And we look at how that will impact schooling. And then we sit together as a sector, decide what needs to be done together with our stakeholders.
Yeah, just a couple of days ago, I interviewed Metsi with the MEC for Health of the Free State. They've seen cluster outbreaks of COVID-19 in several districts, particularly around schools. I asked her, as an MEC for Health, if she would recommend to the Education Department to close some activities or close schools, or maybe adopt a system where today you're at school like it used to happen in other levels of the lockdown or not. I wonder what would be the thinking currently as you approach Monday, and you are hearing now, for example, that parts of the country are now experiencing the third wave.
Yeah, we are looking at that. That's why I said earlier, but then that it's a little bit simpler to look at this matter, because you can see the pattern, you can see the trend that the infections are related to sporting activities. Even the learners that did not attend those sporting activities, when they came into contact with those who had been there, they also got infected themselves. So you can see the spread, where it comes from and where it's going, and that makes it a little bit easier for us to be able to contain it. What we need to do, however, is to decide the detail in terms of the impact of this on schooling, and to say as a sector, what will be the sector response to this particular pattern that's emerging, and what do we need to do in real terms, in practical terms, to try prevent a further spread to other learners who might not have attended those activities, but even those that could be involved in sporting activities. Which sporting activities we can actually allow, so that there's some activity while people are staying safe. So that's what we'll be looking into. That's why these gatherings are very important, because each province will then bring its own report, talk about their experiences, and then suggestions will come from that discussion.
And the minister might announce something midweek next week?
Well, there are plans for a media briefing. As to when that will take place, we'll inform the public once all the issues have been discussed and the decision has been made on what to do next.
Thank you very much. Elijah Mhlanga, speaking on behalf of the Basic Education Department on the latest regarding school activity, particularly sports, because now the numbers are shifting, and 10 schools, he says, in Gauteng, according to a report, he's still busy unpacking. I have already shown some infections and they're being affected, and they're suspending sporting activities that are planned for this weekend. It is, of course, a moving story, developing story. We'll keep track of that here on eNCA.